Gen X childhood was the best childhood of all generations, marked by a unique blend of independence, outdoor adventures, and close-knit communities. While we relished the freedom of exploring the neighborhood until the streetlights came on and sipping from garden hoses on hot summer days, current generations seem to be missing out on these formative experiences. Instead of engaging in the spontaneous outdoor play that defined our youth, the current generation appears to be linked to digital devices by endlessly scrolling through screens and being protected by modern parents. During Gen X childhood, we used to ride bikes without helmets. Riding a bike blissfully, without a helmet or other safety equipment, was a childhood ritual for those from Generation X, which represents a carefree age of exploration and independence. Gen X youth felt an unrestrained thrill as they pedaled around streets, parks, and neighborhoods without the burden of protective gear or helmets when safety laws were less strict. Because they took no safety precautions, they could enjoy the freedom of discovery and the wind in their hair, which helped shape the early sense of independence that would later define their generation. The lack of helmet use on bike rides reflected Generation X's cultural values, not just the fashion of the day. Gen Xers enjoyed the excitement of pushing boundaries and taking chances since they were not raised with the constant worries of modern safety regulations. They developed a unique link with the environment around them by riding bikes without helmets, which became a sign of their indomitable spirit as they explored the streets with a mix of curiosity and fearlessness. Although the absence of safety gear may seem dangerous to modern sensibilities, it's essential to realize that for Generation X, this was a key component of their infancy. Riding a bike without a helmet gives you a sense of freedom and adventure that perfectly captures the spirit of a generation known for its nonconformist values. Car safety was not a priority. Car safety suffered during the Generation X era as people were accustomed to standing in front seats and relaxing on the back dash. In contrast to the painstakingly designed safety systems in modern cars, the cars of that era had less strict safety regulations, encouraging a less formal and more adventurous riding style. Children sometimes use their parents' arms as an impromptu seatbelt to guide them when standing on the front seats to see the road ahead. Likewise, stretching out on the rear dashboard offered kids an alternative viewpoint and an exciting, unconstrained picture of the world outside the vehicle. The cultural norms that prevailed during Generation X, when car safety regulations were significantly less strict than they are today, were reflected in these seemingly irresponsible behaviors. The emphasis on adventure and discovery overshadowed the cautious considerations that characterize modern car driving, as evidenced by the disregard for seatbelts and other safety measures. The way Generation X tackled car safety may seem unusual by today's standards. Still, it captures the free-spirited, out-of-the-ordinary attitude of a generation that approached life with a distinct resilience and nonchalance. Sun protection is not emphasized. Children in the Gen X generation rarely worried about sun protection because they spent so much time outside. Careful application of sunscreen was a far cry from carefree days spent basking in the sun, and the possible hazards of sun exposure were generally neglected in the cultural environment of that era. Teenage girls and young women frequently use coconut or tanning oil to achieve a golden tan. This practice represented the general attitude towards sunbathing, with little thought about the long-term effects. Unlike the carefree attitude of the Gen X generation, attitudes around sun exposure have changed significantly in the modern period, placing a strong emphasis on the need for protective gear. A culture shift has occurred due to growing knowledge of the damaging effects of UV radiation, and sunblock is now a necessary component of everyday skincare regimens. This shift in mindset from the laissez-faire attitude towards sun protection that defined the early years of Generation X indicates a broader recognition of the significance of protecting against potential health concerns. Gameplays. The children of Generation X played in a time when safety worries were non-existent and they were encouraged to be adventurous. Toys that combined danger and excitement, such as BB guns, clackers, and lawn darts, were the norm in Generation X's games. With their sharp, weighted tips, lawn darts turned backyards into temporary battlefields where skill and cunning decided who would win. With the ability to break and shoot plastic shards into the air, knockers evolved into a rhythmic and demanding game that tested the agility and coordination of Generation X youngsters. BB guns, formerly frequently seen strapped to handlebars, fueled thrilling neighborhood battles and secret missions. Rather than being a turnoff, the inherent risk associated with these toys added to the excitement. Without the contemporary emphasis on safety precautions, Gen X kids had to handle the risks connected with these toys in an era that prioritized imaginative play and outdoor exploration. The carefree attitude toward these dangerous toys indicates an ancient period in which playtime was more important than potential danger. Drinking from garden hoses. During the childhood years of Generation X, a common yet beloved activity was drinking straight from the garden hose to relieve thirst. For Gen X youth, this seemingly innocent behavior was a commonplace and revitalizing experience, representing a time when the lines between inside and outside play were wonderfully blurred. Long summer afternoons were spent sharing a cool, flowing stream of water from the garden hose, which strengthened the bonds between neighbors and friends. This small act, albeit regarded as a common and innocent habit in the past, is a sharp contrast to the health-conscious norms of today. In modern times, the once valued custom of sipping from the garden hose is perceived differently. Originally a social and pleasant activity, this practice has become a symbol of a bygone period as modern sensibilities warn against the possible health risks of drinking water straight from outside sources. The change in perspective acts as a heartbreaking reminder of how safety norms are altering and how the straightforward pleasures of Gen X children are now viewed through the lens of growing health concern. Lack of parental supervision. The lack of safety measures in the early years for Generation X children did not impede, but instead encouraged their growth of resilience and self-sufficiency. Gen X children were generally allowed to make their way in the world, having grown up when parents were less involved. This laissez-faire attitude promoted independence, adaptability, and problem-solving skills as kids faced different obstacles without constant supervision. Gen X parents fostered a sense of autonomy in their children through their detached parenting style, which strongly contrasts modern parenting approaches that frequently emphasize continuous supervision and controlled activities. As a result, a large number of Gen Xers were latchkey children, coming home from school to find their parents still away at work. This relaxed parenting style helped Gen X children build a robust and independent mindset by letting them explore, make errors, and learn from them. Even though not taking safety precautions may appear unusual by today's standards, it was a significant factor in defining the traits that set Generation X apart from other generations. Corporal punishment. During Generation X, using physical punishment was a common, albeit controversial, aspect of parenting. In contrast to modern parenting standards, which place a strong emphasis on nonviolent disciplinary techniques, Gen X children frequently grew up hearing the proverb, "Spare the rod and spoil the child," resound in the background. It was a time when parents flog and beat their children, which were considered appropriate ways to discipline their children, mold their behavior, and keep the family dynamic in order. In addition to the family, the educational system was also affected by the practice of corporal punishment. The Gen X age was the last to have teachers and principals use the power of physical discipline, but far less frequently than in earlier generations. Although these methods were presented as remedial measures to keep classrooms orderly, they today stand in sharp contrast to modern educational theories that place a higher value on positive reinforcement and nonviolent conflict resolution. The high rise of divorce. Growing numbers of single-parent households and a steep rise in divorce rates marked the revolutionary age that Generation X was raised in. A cultural shift during this period resulted in the evolution of conventional family structures and a rise in divorce rates. For many Gen Xers, having divorced parents as parents affected their beliefs and family experiences, rather than being the exception. This trend had a significant impact because it raised the percentage of Gen X families headed by single parents. The rise in divorces and the consequent alteration of family arrangements became defining aspects of Generation X's upbringing. Navigating the complexities of split families became a frequent experience for many Gen Xers, which led to a unique set of challenges and resilience as they adjusted to changing familial customs. During this period, divorce rates were high, contributing to developing a self-sufficient, autonomous generation that could confront the challenges posed by shifting family dynamics. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in our next video.